Hi, today I'm having an interview with Mala Kline.
Mala Kline is a performer, choreographer and writer. She holds Master of Arts in Theatre and PhD in Philosophy. She is a certified practitioner and teacher of Saphire, which is imagery and dream work by Catherine Shainberg, and the School of Images from New York City. She has trained with Catherine Shainberg since early 2010. She uses Saphire, which is a practice of inner vision that opens the doors to our subconscious in her author-based artistic work, as well as in coaching and mentoring artists, researchers, entrepreneurs, and other creative professionals to facilitate personal transformation and visionary creativity. She customizes Saphire practice to meet the particular needs of individuals or groups in specific situations and contexts. These techniques of inner vision grant us immediate access to our creativity, truth, and inner guidance. In a flash of an insight, the inner image reveals its intent. Knowing it, we can now manifest it in reality.
And we'll talk about some metaphysical stuff, emotional, intuition, dreaming. And for the beginning, I would like to ask you intuition, imagination, visualization, lucid dreams or dreams. I imagine that these are all your keywords in your life, and as far as I have made studies around those topics, I think that those are really important topics for everyone. When you are studying, I don't know, meditation or neuroscience, spirituality, everything in the end boils down to those keywords. How do you see those words? How do they interconnect among each other?
So maybe the first thing to explain is that I work with Kabbalist tradition. So this is really Sephardic Kabbalah techniques of dreaming. Sephardic Kabbalah means Kabbalah of light, and at the same time Kabbalah means receiving. So it's something about working directly with light, filling up the body with light, transforming what is not light in the body. And basically I work with the techniques, with Kabbalist techniques, which have to do with, so one is imagery that has to do with imagination. The other one is working with dreams, opening dreams, that has to do also with imagination, but really imagination as the images of the language of the body. So it's really the work on the body as all experiencing, which is happening to us all the time. So basically it's all the subconsciousness where we are not just the body, you know, in a skin bag, but it's a larger body, right? So the body as a dream field that connects to all the other dream fields of other people, of spaces, of family, nation, the world, and so on and so on. Right? So it's really working with those information, with images as information, and basically it's transformative techniques. As I said, they transform everything that is not light in the body into more light. So when you ask me about all these concepts, all these keywords, basically it comes down to presence for me. Because being filled with light and having transformed all the blockages, inside, all the mental blockages or the emotional blockages, all the attitudes, all the bad habits, and so on. It really means that, you become present in a different way. in a very different way. So maybe um, you know, just the way you just the way you sit in the world or affect the world or have the exchange with the world, and the way you can be present to the inner voice inside, to your intuition, really changes. So it's very different from being mental, from being thinking, from being very stressed, from really not being here, because all these different things are pulling you away from being truly, truly present. So basically, all the techniques that really work with the subconsciousness, and as what the body really is, they basically ultimately come down to have the effect on your presence within the world, right? But also your receptivity, how much you can receive from the inside and from the surroundings and so on. So maybe that would be the key.
And in comparison, that we live in a world that is still in the minds of the main, still very rational and approving mainly the, I don't know, scientific something. How do you answer to those that would ask how intellectual or how yes, intellectual this everything is, or I don't know.
So it's true that the Western civilization, Western civilization, now it's global, but maybe it began like this. So it's very mental. It's very rational based, like that. How to change this mindset? We, or in this work, me personally, I never work directly on changing this. This is something that simply changes by itself when you do this work. When you work with these techniques, when you keep on returning to gaze inside and have the insights that your intuitive mind brings about, that your body, your subconsciousness brings about, right? And so the more you sit in this, the more you practice this, because it's really a practice, which is a transformational practice, and simply has the effect on every aspect that it is you. So what happens is that this is easier, all the bullshit falls away, and you're simply sitting in the present moment with the present, not with the past, not with some expectations, projections for the future, not then past trauma, anything. All this has been clear. And so you sit within the present moment, and whatever is needing to be seen or said or acted upon the world happens. It just happens. So the same happens with the mental, right? So if I'm writing a book, I sit with myself basically, and so then whatever I need to see about the specific topic I write about, for example, it's going to come to me. And so what happens is it transforms the rational mind. So it's not thinking in some kind of closed closet way, and it's not really a kind of working with just with information, like mental information, but it's really as if the mind is transformed, or let's say illuminated with these insights that you have that really give focus to the mind. And then the mind does the operating job, of writing the thing as a compact essay or whatever it is, right? But the insights that guide it and give it focus, in every paragraph or every page or whatever, really come from inside. And so, it's not So it gives it more weight, or let's say it gives it more grounding, because it's not just thinking. It's really, it's a kind of maybe it's less thinking and it's more revelations. We just have this illuminating insights. Oh, this is what I need to see. This is what needs to be written. Or like, you want to write about 3 topics, and suddenly they connect and they come to you like this, right? And so they really come from the body. So this is interesting, right? Because it's not the work, it's mental work in a way, but it's really works on the body, as all these experiencing, right? Everything that we are within, emotional body, mental body, spiritual body, physical body, it works with all this, right? So it's not very segmented into some rational aspect. And it's not fantasy, imagination, working with imagination, embodied imagination is not fantasy. It's really, really a capacity that we have that is so illuminating and liberating, that if we would really practice it, we would be so much more free than when we are in the mind, where we can be very quickly afraid because we're not grounded in the bodies, and so we can be very easily controlled. So that's the pattern, right? And so really being in your imagination is going to really let loose all this capture, and it's just going to make you be really much more liberated.
And the funny thing is that one would thought that when you are in this presence and the other side below the mental, it would seem like it's easier, or it's not a hard work or something. But when I went to your workshop, I had some issues reaching this state, even though for some rationalists would be it's not serious enough. But what is your experience? Did you have the capability from the beginning, or was it also hard for you?
No, it never was hard for me. As soon as I entered Catherine Shainberg, she's my teacher, and she's been for over a decade now, her apartment, and I was really guided to come there by some strange order of synchronicities and invitations that I simply followed, and so I could allow myself to arrive there, to find her. Right? But as soon as I entered the place of the school, it was so familiar, it was so like I knew something. And when I read her book, Kabbalah and the Power of Dreaming, the first 20 pages that I got that night from her, it was clear to me, this is my language. And so I called. The next day I went to the first class, and for 10 years I was in every class there were. So it was so much my language. It was like I was looking for this for a long time, and so I was trying out different things. And here I just knew immediately that I can do everything with these techniques. I don't need to search anymore. I don't need to do something different. This is what it is. Now I can go to every depth with this. And so from the start, the exercises and everything we do, the practice, it was simple and sort of logical, right? You just need to do it more and more so that you really remember this language. Because to really read dreams, that are so much more intelligent than our mind, right? Our rational mind. They always carry such a precise message. They tell us exactly what we need to hear to balance us out, to balance out our rational attitudes. Not just rational, but everything, that our consciousness does, everything that it cannot see, the dreams are going to say the opposite. So it's as if, and the native people, they always knew to work with this. This was no secret, it was really an open knowledge, and it was a sacred knowledge also, and there was great respect to this knowing that we have inside, and this is a river of knowing, But now we have blocked the access to it. So the question is, can I just come back to it? And these techniques, they do this, but of course, it's available for everyone. It's so equally available to everyone. There's no distances. You're black, you're white, you're gay, you're straight, you're whatever. There's no differences in this respect. But And the point is, the resistances, right? So when you start, stuff is going to start to come up, that doesn't want this, that wants to live the old way, by the old patterns, by the old, because this is safe, this is what I know. It's always the same, So some people have this kind of obstacles, some that kind of, but it's transformational work. So the moment you begin, stuff is going to begin to come up because the inside works like a mirror. It is a mirror. It's when you close your eyes and look in and you get an induction, you go and see something, you're going to see exactly the reverse image as you are able to see in your consciousness, with your consciousness. So it's going to be complementary like this. Now, if you can watch this, it's going to show you this. For example, I'm so ambitious, I am striving, I am trying to, be really successful in my job, but I'm really not paying attention to my emotional life. So the inside, the inner mirror is going to show you exactly this, this is what you need. It's like Snow White, who's the most beautiful in this country, And so it's not the queen, it's the Snow White. It's the soul, right? So the queen needs to see exactly the image she cannot see at all. She cannot imagine it with her conscious mind, right? She wants to be the most beautiful, but actually, the mirror presents her soul. So what do you do with the image you get? Right? That's the question. That's the question, yeah. Can you integrate that, right? And so then the obstacles begin to dissolve and you really start to sit in this presence and in this flow of immediate knowing, right? But to some people it comes through images, to some people through feelings, to some people just through realizations, feelings, yeah, it could be anything. Right?
Also knowing?
Also just knowing, just straight knowing, right? It can also be this. And so it's all dreaming, right? All this is called dreaming.
The process is about to transform the limiting beliefs to more empowering, probably, to beliefs and how you see reality. So what was your drive or motivation that you went into this?
Okay, so the first thing is, it's not just the beliefs, right? It's really everything, right? The beliefs maybe operate, the beliefs are quite fundamental, right? So you have belief systems, then you have, just negative emotionality, resentment, anger, everything that has to do with your past experiences. So it keeps your memory stuck, So when you undo those emotions, those belief systems that run you the wrong course, right? The wrong, not the healthy one or not the most beneficial one.
Not pleasant.
Well, I am not worthy. So how can you ever access abundance, full blow, if this is what runs you? How can you do that? You can't. So you have to be able to arrive to some way that you transform the sense of unworthiness, because only then you create the space inside, the sense inside that you can fully be. Because when you develop this inside, then only you can attract it outside. You can never be successful if you don't have that feeling inside.
If you can't imagine that.
If you can't really feel it inside, then the world will not show this to you as a mirror, right? It's not going to manifest, right? So you want to arrive to what it's called life-giving images. So through the practice, when you transform, belief systems or emotions or attitudes or habits or whatever it is, right? You begin to start to have sensations or images of what you lack, so that then you can develop them in that direction.
And what was your drive at the beginning?
Well, my drive, that was interesting, yes. So I was writing a PhD, which which finally I never wrote. I wrote another one. So that first one was about colonization of our imagination. So it was really about, how our imagination is colonized with all this phantasmatic imagery and is misdirected. So we can't really use it. It's like squatted imaginations, right? So we cannot really use it to its full potential or, use it to our benefit, right? It's squatted so that we imagine and we do what they want us to do. So, okay, yeah, is that all there is? That was my question, right? So, and this was the question that brought me to Catherine. Actually, I was in New York and I was writing this PhD, and finally, I ended up there. She said, you can't stay in New York, you're too sensitive, it's going to be too overwhelming. You have to go back to Amsterdam and do the school there. So I went back to Amsterdam and did the school there, and then finally did another topic for the PhD, which was really about how theater can develop alternative visions of coexistence. So that was not colonization, that was really the use of imagination in the most constructive and the most life-giving way. So that was the question that brought me to the work. But once when I was in the work, I was home. So I am home, right? So from then on, I was simply, doing the work. And so, of course, first it was shit that I had to clear in myself, and that was really, really a lot. There was really a lot, So now, this is interesting, because if you haven't done that work, it's no way that you can work with other people, right? Because you can't understand. So you have to go and clean yourself up completely before you get certified, and it took a long time. I mean, she let me do the work very quickly, but before I had felt inside that now I am clear enough that I can sit in front of the other and I can really see them. That I can be so present, so in myself that I can really see them. It took a long time before I really felt I can. And so, it's never done, right? It's always a work. It's always a work. But I arrived to a place where it became imaginable, and that I can begin to teach and do this work with different people. And now I do it everywhere. I do it at universities, I do it in Volvo company. It's not a place where I don't do it.
But people are opening for this
Yeah,
kind of
they are. And people really need this.
Yeah, definitely.
They really do.
And what do you see now in yourself, now that you've come to the state that you are, and when you look at yourself back in the early days?
What has changed?
What has changed, or maybe even what would you say to yourself to maybe fasten the process? Or
No, this is interesting. My way was exactly the way it had to be. It took its time. I needed. Sometimes it's like, why did I need that long? For certain things. But it's also I'm a bull. Like a Taurus, and so I got the stubbornness, but I can use it for other things, and not dwelling in the blocked space. So, but I was very stubborn. It took me a long time before I could really undo properly. But people, they have their own different timings. So now. Everybody needs their time, so there's nothing to speed up. That's the thing. But what's happening, what is really happening is that it's like it's narrowing down. It's like with everything that's happening in the world, it's like the space to go through, it's narrowing down. So we have to now it's like a small opening. Now, before we had more time, we could do it. Now you got to do it very fast. It's like a pressure. There's some kind of inner pressure that the world is creating.
this pressure.
But that the world is creating, or we're creating it with the world, that really requires, like, you got to drop it now. You got to drop it now. It's something which is accelerating the process of transformation. This I really speak from experience. It's not some kind of new age belief or something. I didn't hear this somewhere. It's really when I work with people, I can see that. I can see how quickly they are ready to go for it, to change, to drop, to transform, to pass through the eye of the needle, and so yeah, it's like some urgency that's inside that you couldn't feel it there so much before, maybe some years before still. And this is really, so it's like it's accelerating. Maybe the time is also accelerating with all the technology we're creating, right? So maybe we're accelerating
Something
time.
is, yes. How about now, speaking in the times we're in, a lot of information, a lot of propaganda. How do you find yourself through this chaos of information? What are your daily routines? How do you consume your information? How do you keep the discipline?
Well, first thing is we live in nature, right? So we live in the middle of the forest, and our daily routines have to do with nature. So we are doing this consciously. This is a conscious choice to go back to nature, to reconnect, to realign with the seasons, with the rhythms of the world, right? Because this is what we're the most missing as humanity. So to really live this connection, on a daily basis, so that we're not alienated in this most basic existential way. We work with land, to ground us, we do all this stuff. So, and then, I have a very developed antenna, when it's too much of something. So, whenever there is flooding of information that, for example, begin to swirl my partner into some vortex, I understand which matrix is operating. So I'm very quick to point it out, to say it, and so what I'm experiencing is that we really need to pay attention to what sources we hold on to source for information, right? Because there's just so much misguidance and so much of attempt to misinform us and to take us directions that we don't need to go, that we don't require as humans, So it's really about filtering and about understanding, where do I look? What articles I read and how much of it, and where it begins to repeat, like a repetitive dream, that is like, okay, can you get out of this, And so yeah, we do filter, let's say, and we do it consciously, all of this, right? So I do think that it's really being present also in this way. So you pay attention to what is feeding your attention, right? So if it's all the repetition and the bullshit and the fear and all the misguidance, can you recognize it and turn away and always go back to the inner source to check, does this resonate? Does this resonate as true? Does this nourish me? Is this totally misleading me or tempting me to shock or tempting me to hurt me? Or all this is happening. And this is the reality. It's become so violent, so aggressive, the mental space that one just needs to really take care and really to live in nature. It's really, really the key, I believe, because the nature takes what you don't need from you. It has this capacity, which we have forgotten, but
I agree. How would you say the difference between being and doing something? When you are in your inside, you are being and feeling, but when you have to do some things, I think not only me, but I think probably a lot of people then forget. Even if you do on those techniques and process, you lose yourself again when you have to do something and go chasing your goals. And
no, the more you do this, eventually you arrive to a space where you just don't abandon that space inside anymore. So you're always inside. No matter what, because I'm still doing imagery when I talk to you, right? So the moment you lose yourself, for example, or I have a break in the mind, I'm going to do a column. So it's an exercise where the energy is simply flowing down from above. And so the moment I notice something is getting a little off, I realign it, right? So the point is that, it's not like I sit in meditation, I go to Vipassana retreat, and so I'm completely in flow, and it's rising, and I become a fountain of nice sensations, But the moment I go out, I'm already smoking, and I'm already, in my old addictions, and emotional addictions, and all that, right? So when you've become so transformed, like, it becomes very simple, It's like all this that was keeping you addicted, or everything, all the emotionality, or all this, I'm in and then I'm totally scattered and I lose the connection, and all this falls away. It's not there. It's like, that's why I say that the most you can see this work, the effect of this work in the way the person is present. So you don't lose that presence anymore. You're still sitting with nice sensations or bad sensations of whatever it is, but you're in your body. You're totally in your body, knowing this feels right, this doesn't feel right at all, and so you have a compass. It can get to you all this mental aggression, or all the confusion, or now I have vision, and now I already have a doubt, will I make it, and so you're not lost and losing energy in all this, Well, you simply rest in that inner space, and from moment to moment, okay, you're in a hurry, what are you going to do, You can get totally panicked and grumpy and all this, but you can also just stretch time. And so you stretch time. So there's an exercise to stretch time, right? So you stretch time, and you will arrive on time, right? So that's it, right?
And this is probably what a friend of mine that proposed your workshops, she described that you are one of the most unjudgmental persons, and when I went to your workshop, I felt you like you are one of the most enlightened persons, because how do you see enlightenment?
This is an interesting question, right? Because this isn't something fixed, right? This is the point, that it's not fixed, People who say that, they make a projection, and that is some kind of finished state or something. Yeah. But this is not, it's simply being present, attentive, so that you know immediately when something is off. You know when you are out of your heart. You know when you're out of your place of presence, So you just notice it, and then you bring yourself back in. And so you can do this so quickly, you notice it so quickly, that you can bring yourself back in, so that to someone who's looking from outside, it would seem that it's a sustained state, But it's not. Everybody's going to still going to feel, we're all in a human form, so you're going to feel pissed off about something, which is really something to piss you off. It's because sometimes people do things that are wrong, and that they're just so blind, And you can also be pissed off, but you understand also, why this is happening to them. So,
it doesn't mean that you have to approve everything, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So you can just see it. That's to stand in the truth, right? You stand in the truth, I can feel you from your point of view, and so I can understand very quickly, and so I don't have to stay in some film or some emotion for a long time. I shift it, and so it corrects itself, and it aligns itself, and informs me what to do now.
Like I heard you once, you said that this balance, when you find it, it's not for the rest of your life. It's always catching,
always moving. Yeah. And that's the point in the dreaming. It's not to reach some kind of blissful state where you're like a vegetable, like, oh, it's so cool, and nothing is touching you. That is really living in fantasy, Because the point is that everything is in flow, and everything is moving us, and we move with it, And so the way you move with it, and the way you align yourself, and the speed with which you can do that, that is actually what is creating that presence, that light, and it always brings you back to love, and understanding, I can understand this is so fucked up. If somebody feels like this, that they have to be doing this. And you can even see. You also the empathy grows, not just intuition, right? But the empathy, so you can really tune into their body and feel their stress from which they're doing this, or you can feel the trauma that they have been through, that it's conditioning them to be doing things to you, for example, that they're doing, and so it doesn't justify what they're doing, but it really enables you to perceive them differently, communicate with them differently, and sort out whatever you need to sort out in a different way. So
this is actually true compassion. But,
it's like living compassion. Yeah, right? This is very practical.
Which again doesn't mean that you let him, that you never
not put the boundary.
Yeah.
So you can put the boundary, of course.
And what is your experience with putting the boundaries? Because I don't know, especially girls, I don't know, maybe it's just my idea, but I think girls are probably most of the time the one who have trouble putting their boundaries.
Yeah, I had to really learn to do that. So I had to learn to really, I had to learn to put boundaries, because the natural ability was, that I was feeling others more than I felt myself.
This is also common for empaths, right? I think.
Exactly, right? So, and then I was flooded over by the information from other bodies, and it was so difficult for me to recognize what it is that I feel within this. And so, doing this work really progressively taught me this. What is really that I feel moment by moment by moment by moment, and what do I feel, and then all this separation between what is mine and what is of the other, and when the boundary is being transgressed. And so then it was very easy to understand, okay, now it's really entering me, this is too much, or it's coming in the wrong way, so I can really stop it in some kind of creative way. Not blocking, not hiding myself,
that's very important.
It's always about
how
creativity.
Communicate, yes.
Yeah, maybe it's about communication, maybe it's talking in a different way, but it's really about creativity, and your response arises from the needs of the moment, right? So it's appropriate from the moment. It's not like I'm hiding or turning away from all these for not to happen. That's a possible way, but that's really escaping. It's not facing it. So how do you face it in a creative way? Again and again and again and again, depending on the situation.
Right. And speaking of boundaries, here we have to set one.
Yeah.
It was a nice chat with you. I think there is so much more things to talk about. Maybe
part two.
And we even got the sun.
Yeah.
We started in the shadow and ended in the sun.
It's all illuminated. Yeah, it's good. It's a good sign.
Thank you, Mala.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks to you.
Yes. Do tell us in the comments what part did resonate with you, or if you have any other questions. Bye. The best.
She's so